So here's your const options. You have them for variables, functions, overloaded functions, and parameter passing. Now, the variables one you already know. You have experience with that, so I'm going to go ahead and skip that. First, we're going to talk about const functions. And this is the neat part, is that the const actually protects any variables, especially member variables, from being changed within the function itself. So in this example, I've got the prototype set up for you. The first one's an inline prototype where there's the const and then there's the actual function. But if you just want the prototype itself, there's a const, semicolon, and then you would have your code throughout. So remember that in student, test one was not protected in any way. Matter of fact, it was public. But there was no const around it either. So it was open to change and everything else. But because this is a const function, it is not allowing me to change any of the values inside of this function. So that's one of the types for functions using const. So what if you wanted to have a function that would change things, but is very similar in name? You actually can get away with doing an overload of a function that will, frankly, well, do exactly like it says. This one is get test, and we have a const, and this one is get test, and it doesn't. So we can do that in this way. Notice one gives you a whole bunch of errors. I mean, this is the errors that are popping up here. Again, about the read only. Now, I'm not a big fan of this because, number one, being the same name, calling it, how do you know which one it is, and stuff like that. That's what I'm a little bit more worried about. So, but this is an option if you wanted to have at least maybe an interface. You have two classes, one inherited, one class gives you const, so other people can access that, and you're given the one that can access. It's a design thing more than anything else like that. You can get away with this using const and non-const functions. So that's your const overloading example. And now we talk about passing values. In this case, we're either passing a reference to a constant or a pointer to a constant. So be careful on how we're doing that because there's two different setups that we have here. But in both setups, I'm getting the exact same thing. I am trying to change the variable new source, and it won't let me do that. Even though I am passing in really actually a copy of it, it won't go ahead and let me change that. And again, this is the assignment is a read only. So again, another way of parameter passing and making sure that parameter doesn't get changed, even though that parameter might be a copy. Notice I said might be a copy. The only way that you're able to get away with it is your normal way, which again, there's no const in front of that. And again, really behind the scenes, let's pretend for a second that this had a const somewhere in it when it was originally declared. Well, no, it would override it here because that's a copy. So it would have to be a member variable or something within here that's already been set to const in order for it to stop. But that's how we would block that, is using that const in the parameter list to make sure, hey, here it is. Here's the original or the copy. Doesn't really matter. You're not changing it in this function, so plan accordingly.